Hockey Nation fans, welcome to the Hockey Nation live show early edition with Coach Frenchy and the Root and Michael Devellano. Somewhere, somehow, he show up right now like a god appear a Tuesday morning in Austin, Texas, after a long night of celebration with Tampa Lightning last night. It was really the playoff. It's over. 2020 playoff. It's done with
Now
a
what?
big win of the Tampa Lightning after 64 days in the bubble, whatever it was in Toronto or Edmonton. Finally, Tampa make this happen for second time of their history, if I can call it. First time, I believe it was 2004 with Mike Richards, Martin St. Louis,
Oh,
Vincent
Brad Richards,
Leclerc,
yeah.
and then today or last night, but we talk about big player like Victor Edmond, Brandon Point, and Nikita Kisherov bring that team all the way to the end. A great coach, John Cooper. Finally, there was the second time Cooper was in the final Stanley Cup. Lost the first time against Chicago. I think we talked about this yesterday, and finally. We predict this, I mean, like I did at the beginning of the playoff, but honestly, I should do something. By the way, Michael, I predict the winner of the Stanley Cup. I predict the winner of the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, and now I'm doing predict this. I should think about maybe buy something or figure
Yeah,
out.
you should have bought on both of those. Jeez.
So anyway, and then we mentioned last night at the late edition talking about we need to be positive and not blame anything about that game and blame anybody from Dallas.
No, I mean they earned it. That's the better team. We figured it was going to be 6 games. I think at the beginning of the playoffs, I had hoped Colorado would get there. They ran to injuries, really bad injuries early. Who beat them? Dallas. And Dallas has had like an improbable run, like just amazing.
Amazing
So
run. We can talking about Anton Kudubin and then Jimmy Ben and Miro Eskinen. But I
he's a
think the
big,
player
big one.
behind everybody is really Joe Pavelski. 36 years old, became the best scorer in a USC born player in the playoff with 60 now. Uh, Number two now he became Joe Mullen. But we cannot blame anybody there.
Crazy about Mullen. I didn't realize that. Must be like what, Pittsburgh, Calgary,
Joe Mullen?
probably, right? Like that's where he got his points, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think so. You have a lot of point with Blues, St. Louis Blues. Um, But I think overall, congrats the winner of the Connie Smythe. Before we move on, Victor Edmond. Honestly, was the quarterback, and he did. He was the most player played the most TOI time on ice on his and with over an average of 28 minutes per game. And that team have over what 190 minutes playoff 40, maybe more, maybe 200 something. And the guy was complete 35, 38 minutes. Remember the 5 OT? It was over 50 minutes,
That's right.
was close to 60 minutes, by the
Yeah, I
way.
forgot about that.
So and then he has 10 goals in the playoff. He was 2 goals shy of the record from Paul Coffey for the most goal in the playoff as a defenseman. So I think he deserved it, and
Oh,
congrats to
totally.
Edmund. We have to mention also close with him Brendan Point and Kishera with 33 and 34, 33 points in playoff. So it's great run for Tampa. Leaving myself in Florida, I think is great for hockey. In Florida, have a team, whatever. It's North and Florida compared. We are in South. I think that bring more kids want to try to play hockey. I believe. Of
Yeah,
course,
I
the
agree. I love that. I love seeing that. Like you want to see more people come to the game, and it's maybe an intimidating sport, and parents don't understand it if they're not from a hockey place. But take your kids to a try for hockey for free. I mean, you want to become like that kid, then there's lots of stuff in Tampa. There's lots of stuff in Miami area.
Talk about a great organization, Tampa. I think they all sold out for the last 200 game, over 200 game.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's a great organization. And one thing we did not mention too much, I believe we talked 2 days ago, maybe yesterday morning, about Steve Eiserman. That team is now the GM of Julien Brisebois, born in Châteauguay, Montreal. Great great person, but also a great management. He start and if he was with Ottawa Senators as beginning at young age. Then he moved with Tampa. He took care about the AHL team, Tampa Bay. I think it was not Birmingham, Syracuse, but I can be wrong there on the
Yep. No, it
EHL.
was Syracuse.
Yeah,
Oh, he was
CHL for
Hamilton
many
and Syracuse.
years, and then after that, he became
Norfolk.
the assistant manager. The Eiserman follow his path, everything like that. But Steve Eiserman did a great job for many years, and that's the result of a combination of really Eiserman. But on the flip side, we have to talk about Ginny Brisbois trade at the deadline. I think they
He
satisfied the
really,
new
really
last
well.
year was missing. We talk about Kevin Shattenkirk, a defenseman UFA. We talk about Pat Maroon. By the way, Maroon is a second year back to back winner of the Stanley Cup. He was
Yeah.
a part of the franchise of St. Louis Blues last season. And then we talk about Parkley Kudrow, got traded at the deadline from San Jose, bring that kind of satisfy the third line with his play. And then what about Blake Coleman? Came for the a trade, first
So
round
many
pick
great moves.
trade.
Like he was really,
It's a guy those guys bring a lot of energy and physicality of the game where they don't have. Remember like Palat and Johnson. They are small player. I think a both combination together bring that team where they are. And
I mean, Plot's a
finally,
big guy though.
yes,
Yeah.
and then finally, we talk about the big D. They have a strong. They use 8-4-8 D.
I think that,
Join
yeah, eight or was it nine? Because they had Coburn and
nine now with Ruta at the end.
Ruda, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so nine D played during those playoff 2020. He played many games, Coach John Cooper, with 7D, 11 forward, until at the end of the second part of the final Stanley Cup. And then, what about not Alexei, but Andrei Vasilevsky
Yeah,
was
Vasilevsky. I mean, he played every single minute.
every single minute of the playoff, back to back game, 3 game in 4 nights, and he was a big part. You can count on your hands how game he did was not very well. Yeah,
No,
maybe
I
3 game.
mean, he
You know what
played
I mean?
great.
So
I
I
mean,
think it
he
was
pitched a
really
shutout
important.
the final game, so it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it's a great team win, and then by the coach John Cooper. So great for Tampa Bowls Lightnings win, and then unfortunately we have to move now to the uh, a couple of months without hockey, but a lot of things going
Lots
on
of
left and
action.
right. I want to talk about before we move. We can jump a little bit about what happened yesterday in the NHL. Um, we we talked last night late, but let's go back on on the contract extension from defenseman for the Philadelphia Flyers, Robert Hagg, signed a 2-year contract at 3.2, 1.6 per year. Um,
I
what's
don't actually.
happening there? Um,
I mean, it's a great deal for Philadelphia. I feel like he would have got 2.5 or 2.6 or 2.8. Like he's 23. He's paid his dues. He's a top four, worst case, he's a top five defenseman, but real good skater and very efficient D, big body. Like kind of surprised how little that he got, but
yeah, I agree with you. I think he could. Can he ask for more for sure? I think he's on the classification depth chart. We can call
yeah,
depth
that's
chart.
probably what it is because they do have a lot of D. I think he just wants to make sure he's on the roster. It seems like
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, I think Philadelphia have a strong young team. I think they are
for
on
sure.
the maybe the top 10. They have a great year. Unfortunately, they stopped again at some point in
They're just
Islanders.
getting started. I don't know. I mean, it sucks. I think Nolan Patrick's in tough. But aside from that, Joel Farabee looks like he's coming up, and they got Morgan Frost, and they got Isaac Ratcliffe, and like you go down the list, they got prospects.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah, yeah.
like they may have a Norris Trophy guy right there, and Provorov.
I think you need another players, another solid D, top two, I
Or
believe.
maybe
I think to
you think so?
succeed.
Do you
And
think? Like, I guess I really think Philippe Myers is that guy.
I don't see him as a top two, honestly, to
More
be
like a
top
top. I think
four.
he's more like a 3-4.
But
But
the only one really carry on the team at the D is like
Provorov for
yeah.
sure.
So I think to add another one on the other
Safe
side,
wing.
on the right side, I think that we're helping that team to get better. I think no.
Sanheim's real good. Like Sanheim, I think's top three, and you got Myers, so you're not far off. If you had one more guy, like make a big difference.
And then the suddenly the second, a minor signature, Montreal Canadiens signed the young, but they're not young anymore. He's 25. Jake Lucchini, 700K. Honestly, that's more for the Laval Rocket to have another
Yeah, probably.
extra body there. Lucchini,
It's
uh,
amazing what guys can make in the AHL now.
yeah, it's that's the one
The
thing.
other guy they signed as a kid, I had him on my spring team way back. I say kid again, he's a '93, but is Joseph Landisi, and he's probably earmarked for the minors. But he can score, and he's played a little bit in the NHL. Like he might be a useful kid. Played in Pittsburgh. He's played New Jersey, I think.
Then a minor trade NHL yesterday afternoon. Vegas sent Dylan. No, honestly,
Oh yes.
Vegas. Yeah, so Vegas sent Brendan Peary to Chicago back again for a second time back in the Chicago Blackhawks versus, and then Chicago sent Dylan Zikura. So it's a minor trade between both teams.
They're very similar players. Um, both played in the Ontario Junior Hockey League when I was working in that area, and both pretty skilled. I think Dylan's probably a better two-way player, and he's younger. Um, Maybe not as much goal scoring potential. Peary, like he can score in bunches, right? Like he's just got other parts to his game that coaches don't love.
Yeah,
We'll see
I
if it
think
helps him. Could give him offensive depth. He's capable of getting 15, 20 goals.
I think the it's I feel not sad, but Brendan Peary, he have a great year with Florida. I believe he scored 18, 20
Like
goals
24 goals
at
or
some
something.
point. But it's a player never have. I don't know what is missing to have a consistency.
He's just never been that guy. Like he doesn't do stuff away from the puck that coaches value, right?
Yep.
Defensively, he looks like he's trying. He kind of reminded me of Eberle, which is weird that Eberle can have. Eberle's probably better defensively, but not much. I mean, and I don't think his motor is the same. Like he's a 91. Like he's the same. He always played in the same age group because Sagan played up with the 91s, and it was very similar players. I mean, Sagan was a year younger playing up, but he had a lot of success. I mean, in the OHL, and he's scored everywhere he's been.
Yep. And then another rumor is, like you mentioned yesterday, finally his agent Peter Fish told to Bob McKenzie, Jack want to win. He is frustrated not winning, but he doesn't want to out. He believe he likes to play in Buffalo. He wants to play here. He does not request any trade. So the rumor, whatever who started that rumor, is confirmed
Wow.
yesterday
I think there's legitimacy behind it, is my understanding. I think it was, but he's in a position they're never going to trade that guy.
yeah. He's a franchise
He
player, but in the hockey, sometime,
just
and
signed a huge contract. Like
yes,
I think it boils down to they're very close. I don't think they're that far off. I think he's got a good relationship with the coach Kruger. That's not always enough. Um, so I think the Eric Stahl thing helps a lot. And
yeah,
whatever they do with Ristolainen, they got to bring back a top 4D, I think. And they're not far off on goaltending. They just need if they're a couple pieces away. Like, who would not love to play with Rasmussen or Rasmus Dahlin? Like, holy crap, so good.
Also, another dimension, I think the biggest for me right now, Buffalo, we're going to go back those teams, but I
Yeah,
think the biggest problem for them is the goaltender. They need to find a solid. And
I agree.
this year the UFA goaltender, it's amazing. So one, they can get something better, solid goalie this year, and see what happening. And
Yeah,
then you
the
have
Carter Hutton thing was just not
to
smart.
get to
I mean,
get
you put your whole team on his back, and then you had no second line center,
Then you
and then
have
you had
Eric
guys like
Staal
Vesey
back in the
and Thompson.
lineup, so they'll
Weird.
be helping a little bit more. But I think they should get a goalie.
If they
Uh,
had like a veteran guy, like that would be really.
yep, definitely. Then finally, Chris Stewart, after 11 years NHL, announced his retirement. But one thing is we have to add now is he got hired by the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers, as a hockey player development coach by the Flyers. This is something like sometime. Uh, Hockey is a small world, and when you get a good impression to one coach or have a friends and relationship is great. I think if someone inside the Flowers like him, give him a chance, and everything like that, and that's maybe one of the reasons he's there. And good for him. He's still in the game, and it's fun to see players retire, but still in the game. Try to help, try to be a part of something. So good luck for Chris Stewart to be there. But finally, I want to finish the news. Um, yeah, we have a new team on the chase of Alec Pietrangelo this morning after Toronto and after Vegas. Now, the Florida Panthers are in the race to get Alex Pietrangelo. So we'll see what happening there. They have the money for that part of there. They maybe they trade medicine. I think Pietrangelo will be anywhere where Pietrangelo play. He's going to
Oh,
play.
he's gonna make
I
them
think
so much better.
he's
Like,
getting so much better. You see
the
what
fourth
and
ward is interesting, right? Because they've traded for Hornqvist. They have Ekblad back there, and you bring in a veteran, guy that's won a cup. You've got Joel Quenneville, who's a legit coach. You've got a star goalie. You've got a superstar centerman. Like, they have a lot of pieces, right? They're not. If you get a Peter Angelo on that roster, they're not far off.
I think that would be very good for them to have him. Now Bob have to go back like Bob he was. He did not was Bob this year.
Yeah,
He played all year long with an injury, a
it's not.
groin injury. It's not easy for the goalie to have that kind. You remember, like Carey Price, a couple of years
Oh,
ago,
it's
4 5 years ago,
terrible.
he struggled all year long to
Yeah,
go back.
it just
He get out, came
re-tears
back, get out.
and
And Bob, he was not Bob this year. And I think they need to satisfy their D. And that's the reason why I think Brazil is on the targeting with Florida, everything like that. So we'll see what happening. We have a couple of things to talk about. First, we're going to go with the draft pick at the end of the show. But today I have a great article about the NHL playoff. It's over now. They create some different tiers, and I want to talk about those tiers. And I want you to get your impression about that part of there. And the first one is the Immortals tiers. The for the players cement themselves among the best hockey during those playoff. And the first one is Nathan McKinnon.
sorry. So what? I'm trying to understand what you're.
So they have an article on the Athletics this morning about the NHL
Okay.
playoff, and they create tiers where they have like the
Oh.
best three, and
Oh yeah. Okay.
they named different things on the tiers. The first one, the Immortals tiers, was the best player on the NHL during those playoffs, create an impact, and the first one is Nathan McKinnon.
I mean, the kid is legitimately top three players or four players in the NHL. Like, there's a few guys in that mix, like McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon. I don't know who else you would put up there. Kucherov could make an argument. Um, he deserves it. I mean, the guy is. got an incredible
I
engine.
agree with you on that
You
part.
would
He
probably
has a lot of
still like a
goals.
lot of people would still keep Sidney Crosby in there. I mean, it's hard to say no, right? I've always loved Malkin. I think he gets underrated, but he's got
But
a
this
lot.
one is only for the playoff 2020. You know what I mean?
Does for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's only for the playoff 2020.
Oh, okay,
So
interesting.
that's making a number two, Victor Edmond, and that's the reason why he got the Connie
Yep.
Smythe. I think he was the one really on the best of the
Okay,
best.
so they're ranking the best players of the playoffs.
Yeah. Then I'm going to know that I'm going to surprise you, and maybe not, because you know him very well. You'll be happy to hear his name there, um, Ryan O'Reilly.
It's nice to see that people understand what he does because he's always been like, even in his draft year was weird because he was drafted in the second round. I was really disappointed when Detroit took Landon Ferraro over him. I should have made a more aggressive pitch. um, he never was a beautiful skater. If you look at his production in the OHL, 16 and 19 goals. So people just question him, but what they don't understand is what he does off the ice to train. And that's when he went to the combine and blew everybody away. Like they're still trying to break his records as a 18-year-old.
Yes,
I'm really happy to see that because he's the most complete player in the NHL. Like he
yes,
can get 25 goals, 60 to 70 points. He wins faceoffs. He kills penalties. He plays a 200-foot game. The guys love him. He's an underrated playmaker. Like he sees the ice very, very well. He's got that weird tippy toe skating style, but it does not matter. Like
First
he's
of
a
all, he was
special
the
player.
winner of the Connie Smythe last season,
Yeah, there's a reason. I mean,
19. He's the best to play forward in the game. In the
I think
game,
so. I
one
mean,
of the top five forward. But I want to give you a couple of stats why he was there. He's a 29 years old. He registered four goals and 11 point in 9 game during that sequence. Right when with O'Reilly, um, create one O'Reilly is on the he create 88 shot on the goal while Halloween just 35 against.
I think that it tells the story of what we know. Like, I mean, we had him when he was like 15, and then I stayed friends with his dad, and we stay in touch. And so I followed him through Erie. I followed him through his NHL stuff, and he's the same player. Like, he is really smart at puck management. He goes on, like, he's unselfish, but he can score too. He's got really quick hands. He works on his quick hands. Like, have you ever seen him on a
Great.
breakaway?
Ryan O'Reilly have a great wrist
His
shot.
wrist shot's very good, and he will, if you watch him on a breakaway, he'll deke the goalie like 20 times inside of like a very short window.
You
He's
know,
got underrated hands.
you have to remember O'Reilly was with Colorado Avalanche.
Well, that's they were here's again, they had Duchesne, Ryan, and McKinnon, which I understand, McKinnon, they were very patient with. Ryan probably got an outsized contract where he got the 6.5. I think it was through arbitration. And so I think that screwed up his relationship with the GMs then, but they did not appreciate what they had. He was playing third line center, and he's better than Matt. Like, that 91 group was like Taylor Hall, Ryan went ahead. So you look at the OHL, Ryan went first, Taylor Hall went second, Duchesne went third, then Cizikas went fourth. And those guys have been, especially the top three, very closely linked. And then both guys get drafted to Colorado.
Yep.
Well, Matt is a fast player. He's a very good skater, but he does not have Ryan's engine. He does not play two ways, and he doesn't have the grit to battle through injuries and pain. And, to say, oh, Ryan's overpaid at 6'5", he's a way better deal than Matt Duchene and always was. So that, a guy gets 28 goals when they move him to wing. They're like, all right, fine, we'll move you a wing. You're not going to score. Wrong. Wrong.
Yeah.
Like they made a huge mistake for a long time. They've recovered now. They have new GM, and Joe Sakic gets what's there. And I think that's when you saw McKinnon's game go through the roof.
Yeah.
But, that was a huge loss. And then look at Buffalo. Buffalo had Ryan, and they dumped him because he was mad. He was sick of like Eichel. Like, he's like, I don't want to lose. So he says, I don't love the game. I hate. You know, he's legitimately the hardest player I've ever seen on himself. Like he's a very intense guy and he turns it inward. And we would have to send him home because he would overtrain. It was crazy. So then you put that in the NHL and he's like, I want out. What do they get for him? They got a guy that leaves for mental health issues allegedly, and now is playing in Sweden, Berglund. Sabotka's what he is, and then Tage Thompson and a draft pick.
Yeah, it was a bad trade on that one
And
over there.
trade, like that guy. If you imagine that your 1 and 2 centers were Eichel and Riley,
Yep.
like Ryan and you get Snook on the second liner even. Like, can you imagine how good Buffalo would be with Darlene?
So now the second tier of this article is the future legends. So the players may be going to reach the immortals players. So the first one is Miro Eskenen from the
He's
Dallas
there.
Star.
He needs to improve on some stuff. We saw some of his choices and he gets worn down. But I mean, to have the points he did and the skating and as such a young player, he's phenomenal. He's way better than I ever anticipated. I didn't think he was going to be this good.
Yep, me too. I think you're absolutely right about that one over there. Yes, And then the number two, I think is I really like him. I think because we don't see him a lot, and again was another steal in the draft. Elias Pettersson, Vancouver Canucks. Um,
He's so good.
he is really good about it. You know what I mean? In 17 game playoff game, Pettersson drew 13 penalties and only took one minor. So that give you an idea how the people pay attention to him, and he's a really a sniper on the one timer. Now on power play on the left on the right side, so he's a left, so he's really great. And then I think he's really the one, the future, and with Pedersen with Vancouver, that's make me now.
Vancouver's got a like he's when you see a player that productive, and I don't even think his body is what it's going to be. Like he's still very wispy. Like if you look in the helmet, you just see stick in a head.
He remind us Sidon at the beginning when they came in NHL. There was
Maybe he's
playing.
super skilled, right? Like
Yeah.
his offense is from the hash and scoring areas. Doesn't play that cycle game so much they play, but he's super good. He's a great playmaker and he can shoot the puck like he's like Kucherov type shot.
You know the story about Peterson in Sweden. I had a chance to listen. Who was the national coach over there? Robert, like not Robert. Was the national coach? But I forgot. Anyway, so the story is that dad, Elias Pettersson, was the manager of the hockey ring in Sweden. And he has the key. So his kid, Elias, was at the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning by himself, skating at the rink and shooting park and skating, everything like that. So that's, what I mean, his work ethic is amazing. And they knew at a young age he's going to be a star and everything like that. So I
I,
think,
I think this is a great point you make about first of all, if you are playing hockey, your kid's playing hockey, we got this crazy thing, and particularly USA Hockey, we like play other sports. I'm like, yeah, great, play other sports. But you know who doesn't tell you to play other sports? Your football coach.
yeah.
Your basketball coach doesn't say, yeah, you should go play lacrosse. Like the biggest barrier in hockey is you got to be on the ice. And we don't have frozen ponds the way we used to, but the skill training level is phenomenal. So if you're a kid or you're a parent and you're wondering what it takes, it's like let your kid play. Encourage your kid to stick handle off the ice. Set them up a net. Like shoot 100 pucks a day outside or in the basement. Stick handle and come up with a routine every day and get them on the ice. Take them to public skates. Practice with other players and teams. Like just going to your team practice is not enough. And your team practices are typically, yes, there's skill involved, but guys like Elias Peterson show you it's a daily thing. They love the game, and you give them access, and they're going to want to go. And you see that with the top players. Like they just want to play every day.
Yep. So the coach I'm talking about is Richard Grunborg. He was one of the top best coach in Sweden. He
Yeah,
was
I love hearing that because I think what people don't understand is they don't see what guys do off the ice when they're 12, 13, 14, 15. They just see a pro player
Yep.
or it's like, wow, this guy came out of nowhere. But it doesn't work like that. Like some guys do, but you don't understand the level of work and who they're training with and who they're learning from, and they're just it's constantly trying to improve yourself.
And finally for the future tiers, Matthew Barzal for New York Islanders.
Really?
Yep, Barzal, he did everything for that team. He was the
Yeah,
only
he's by far their best player.
yeah, he
I
was
feel like his you haven't seen his top game yet.
you still have like you still have yeah, I agree with you about that one over there. I think he still have one more level to go. He did not
Absolutely.
produce on offensive side, but he creates so much opportunity for his players play with him. Um, sometimes we said players make other players look good. I think because of him, Anders Lee looked good for the playoff with 7 or 8 goals on the playoff.
Maybe. I mean, I think Anders Lee has always scored those types of goals, and the guy like that that's that big and goes to the net and does what he does down low is going to do the same thing. What Barzal really needs is a trigger man. If you give him a guy that can score an elite level and not be a defensive liability,
You're absolutely right. I think a guy like Mike Hoffman could be a guy like this, a sniper like Matt. I don't say Batshuayi is going there, but a guy like a sniper, a regular 30 goal plus per year, with a risk shot, one timer
I
shot.
wonder about Tyler Toffoli
You know what I
because
mean?
Tyler's never had that type of center, and Tyler can create his own opportunities, and he's very. But Tyler has like elite shot. Like he's a goal scorer, man. Like with a Barzal, he might get 40 goals.
And then the next one, finale is this tier is Carter Hart for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think it was maybe the one uh, shine or bright a lot during those playoff series. I think Carter carried on that team to the end where they finished because without him, Flyers with no production of the offensive players like we know already Giroux and Konex, well,
Travis Konechny,
yeah, and then the center like so they struggle a lot.
Voracek,
Yeah,
and there's
so
a
they
lot of good
struggle a
players
lot.
there.
And I think Carter would deserve about that one. The next tier is a superstar tier. They are already very good, and usually highlight compass and great performer, great players. We already know they are great players, and we start with, of course, Brandon Point, 32 points in 22 games. Amazing me, you know what I mean? 22 points and 22 game playoff.
He's a phenomenal player.
Yep. I think
Do,
is
do you know where we drafted Carter?
yeah, yeah. You mentioned that part over there.
But do you know what round?
I think it was the 34th,
Oh, eighth.
8th round. So give you an idea of where he came from.
Like
Like that. Um, great fast skater.
no, Carter Hart.
What Tampa is, we can mention Kucherov and Edmund, but Point, he's elevate his game. He
No,
become maybe the
I was saying Carter Hart. We drafted Carter Hart in the eighth round.
okay.
Yeah, Braden Point. He was a great player in our league. Like he, I think he was small, and people slept on him. They didn't really understand how good he is.
Yep. Then the next one I want to talk about is Sebastian Ao, Carolina Hurricanes. So I'm talking about 23 years old younger, and they are on the ways to become a star,
Yeah.
superstar in this league. So
Well, Braden. I mean, I think Sebastian Aho was there. He is funny because if you watch Carolina in the playoffs, I didn't really notice him, but look at the score sheet. The guy was over a point a game, right?
I have a chance to watch him a lot because he's on the East Coast, and then he play a lot against Montreal, but Florida. So I have a chance to say watch him, and I think he don't get what he deserve. I think, and then we always thinking Carolina is not a fun team to watch, whatever it
Well,
is.
they're a great team to watch now.
Yeah, exactly. 30 goal, 83 points at the end of the season. He's really number one center, top
Oh, by
center
far,
in the
yeah.
league. And then he's only 21, and I think he's going to grow more. Would play with Snevnikov will be helping also the future there,
He's
and
a
that's one
97.
reason one Montreal for him a contract, and he did not the Carolina tied sign equal the offer of Montreal. So Sebastian is on how is
Montreal
the
did him
next.
a huge favor with
Yeah,
that contract
for
because
him is great one because he was AFA. Don't think he would get that $8 million. Honestly, at that age, I think they will. He was.
that's looking like a deal.
Yeah, at
Because
that
the
contract.
guy had 12 points in 9 games in the playoffs. He's point a game in the regular season. He's with that group with Line and Puya Harvey and even Ratman's a year older, but he's a 97 and I mean phenomenal group of Finnish players that came out of that.
The next player we talk about them is Shea Theodore. I think he flourished a lot during those
I saw
playoffs.
him a lot.
You know what I mean? He really became a little bit the quarterback of them. I think he's still to prove a little bit more, but I can see he developed well. I think he become that confidence the players and
That's it.
you
He's
know even
thicker.
though uh,
I think he got stronger. He got the opportunity. He took it. He was
skate very well. I
always
was impressed
offensively
by his
gifted,
speed.
right? Oh, he's a great skater.
Um,
Great skater.
I
I
think
mean, he was a very good. He played for the Seattle Thunderbirds, so we saw him a lot. I always thought like, wow, like when they let him go in Anaheim, I was like, he's just young. Like
yep.
that's all it is because he's going to be a very good D. I don't know if I thought he'd be more like a number 2 or a 3, and maybe he is, but he seems to be a kind of a 1 there. Like but I mean, he's got a lot of offensive tools. He's a real smart player.
And then finally, the two other superstars they are thinking on the arise is Cal McCarr and
Oh,
Quinn Hughes. We already talked about this. We know those two kids going to be the top five D
so good.
sure everything like that. So that's great, a great future for the NHL. The next tier, and that'll be fun for that one. It's called the Clutch Chemistry Leadership Award contender. So their player is still getting better and better and better, and people still not sure or they don't know too much about them, those players. And the first one come is Pierre-Luc Dubois from Columbus Blue Jackets.
I think he produces less offense than I would like. I think he's capable of producing more. He's way better defensively than we ever realized.
I think so too. I think he's a great two-way. He's a big guy, 6'6". He bring a lot.
6 Dubois,
Dubois is a big guy. I think he's 6'4", 6'6", something like that.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure.
He's like 6'2", 6'3", but
Really,
maybe.
I thought he was taller. That one over there. Um, I think he
Now I'm
bring a lot of
curious.
Columbus, become a
Yeah,
center number
he's
one.
listed as 6'3". I mean, he's a big guy.
Yeah. And then number two, I think you will, Bo Horvat. Bo have a great playoff this year. 10 goal and 17 game playoff game.
He's a
But,
killer.
beside Peterson, I think he was the one really um, bring Vancouver that where they finish at the end.
Well,
So,
it's funny because you think of a team and you want a 1-2 punch, and you've got it there. I mean,
yeah,
he's so underrated. We always knew he could score. He came out of Elgin Middlesex in Ontario, the Alliance.
yep,
He played for the London Knights. He was the first round pick that Vancouver got under Paul Gillis for Corey Schneider, and I think people were mad at that. But now you're like, okay, we're good. He's your captain. He can shoot the puck. He's a clutch player. Like he's a great pick. I mean, he's a great player. 10 goals in 17 games in the playoffs.
yeah, definitely was really great about that one. The next tier is the elite shutdown defender. Young and people knows they are good, but maybe not knows them how good they are as a shutdown defender. And the first one, impressive for me, it's great to know that Samuel Girard
Hmm.
from the Colorado,
Avalanche. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
I never see. I wouldn't think of him as that, but this
and
is true.
so I think
He's a
Girard
great
bring a lot
skater.
under. He's a great skater. for his type of the he's
Not
small
big.
one, but he bring a lot on the defensive side where people thinking it's only like Zatorov and Johnson and those guys, and then finally again Dallas, he was the one chip in with 10 point, 15 playoff game this year. Consistency, impressed with his transportation skill, great skater, small skate stick. I don't know if you see this stick he has, like this guy
Gerard.
is, yeah, Girard,
Dick.
pretty on that. Another one they talk about is Michael Sokachev for Tampa Lightnings. Um, he has he was not a bad beginning player, but I think he did not play at the level he's supposed to play. And then I'm telling you right now, the last 15 game, Sokachev played amazing as the blue line. I think he was the second best defenseman on my book
For
for
sure.
Tampa.
I mean, he's got a big body. He's people don't realize how big he is. He
Yep.
skates extremely well. He's
Yep.
got amazing puck skills. He contributes offensively, but I think he defensively is probably better than people realize.
I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Um, he's the mix of Ryan McDonough, but better.
Yeah, he's got more offense, but
Yeah.
he's got that element the Ryan McDonough comparison is not far off. Like he's got that very steady, big body style. Like again, McDonough, you underestimate how big he is, and if you try to go up against him one on one, you're gonna find out.
And then
Yeah,
finally, final that tier, two players really, we don't talk, we talk about Islanders all the time, and their name is not always the one came on the right away. And I think it's Devon the Toes, and then Adam Pilesh from the Islanders. I think, yeah,
they're really good, aren't they? I think Devin Taves has got like way more, not related to Jonathan, but he's got way more skill than I realized, and
yeah.
he's got a real good shot from the point. He's effective on the power play. He carries the puck out well. Like he's a quiet, effective guy that he's way better than I realized. And then Pelech, didn't realize that he's a pretty good shutdown D. I kind of like him.
Yep, I agree. The next one is the Sasha Parkov most underrated tiers during those playoffs. And the first one go to John Clenburn.
Yeah, I mean, we knew how offensively gifted he is. I think he still has problems defensively if you put pressure on him. But I mean, what he brings to the game is tough to find, right? Like he's a definite number 1B, 2A type guy. Like he's really, really, really good. He can
Yes,
run a power play. Like
he's
he's
still a
one of the
young, he's
better
still
defensively.
a young defenseman. He's not old. He just have a couple of years in NHL. You tell that. I think we can put him at the top 10, 15 NHL
He's
defenseman.
been around a while, hasn't he?
You know what I mean? He's
Is he
not
is he close to he's a 92, so yeah, he's 28.
28 now.
So,
I'll tell you, it was more like 25, 24.
no, he's a 92.
Okay. So,
But still, I mean, he's
yeah.
not 30 yet. He's got lots of. He's Carl Klingberg was his brother, right?
Yep. So the next one, you like this one? It's called the Phil Kessel. Clearly too good for the third to be a third line playoff X Factor tiers. And the first one we have to go, and I think we all agree we like this kid. It's Alex Tuck from the Vegas
Oh yeah,
Golden Knight. I
awesome.
think play third line. He could play top six, many teams. I can imagine him to be with Islanders, New York Islanders.
He um he reminds me of Brandon Saad, but bigger. Like he's bigger.
Yeah, 6'4", 220. He bring a lot on the game. I think he flourished during those playoffs. But again, we knew already what he can bring, and
Yeah,
I
he's
think
so
he's
good.
not a third line. If he's a third line, he's a really good, solid, top best third line,
Yeah,
and I think
he can
he's
take over shifts. He's a
yeah.
prototypical modern power guy. Like he's a big body that really can fly. He's got good hands.
Yep. The next one's called the Irresistible Redemption. And I think because what happening to him last season and got suspended twice, back-to-back year with Toronto, and he have a great playoff. Honestly, I was impressed by 18 points in 15 games. Nazem Kadri, Colorado Avalanche. Um, you know, he did not. He plays so good for them.
Those bonehead moments, like he goes over the top, but he hits. He's fast. He's a gritty player. He got great hands. He's underrated playmaker. I mean, if that's your for $4 million, is that what he's making? I think he's like four and a half. Like he's a 20 to 30 goal scorer depending on what's going on. Two playoffs in a row, you have to say that the suspensions he had with Toronto killed Toronto. So
Yep.
your answer is to trade him
Yeah.
for a guy that's gone, which is Tyson Berry. And you're like, oh well, that's fine.
Then then the next
Only
one,
guy that hits on your team.
yeah, honestly, but you have a great playoff and good for him. Hopefully, will.
Yeah, Kadri's real. He's a good player.
Yep. The trophy they call the latter day John Drews. I don't know if you know the story of John
Yeah,
Drews.
I know that. Yeah, big playoff performance will disappear into the woodwork.
30 years ago, John Drews has 14 goal in 15 playoff game, and
Watching.
we don't know. Nobody remember John Drews or the fact that 15 games period. This year, the trophy go to Joel Kiviranta. They deserve this one because he scored 3 goal hat trick at the game number 7. Honestly, and I think he appeared 11 game prior during the year, during the season, have 1 goal, something like that. So he deserved that John Drews trophy. I think you are the ones mentioned. He's not going to score any other goal, and he
I don't know
scored.
now. I think he's going to be real good.
Yeah, so, we don't really know him until we saw him very well. I
Yeah,
think
he looks good. The more I watch him,
some
like I like
upside
him. He's
there.
not.
I
He's
think
only 5'10", but he plays. He goes to scoring areas. He's actually got some instinct. Like he might be better than I thought. Like he could be a real good productive player for them for a long time.
the next one's called the Super Pest tier, and go to Dylan Dubé from Calgary Flames.
Oh, really?
Yep. Um, you know,
He's better than I thought too. Like um, I wasn't sure about him, but some nights he was like one of their better players. Like
he scored 4 goals, 5 point, 10 game with them.
oh,
But when you have them on the line with Sam Bennett and Milan Lucic, um,
went way better.
you know, I think he plays his role, and he not many, I think Dallas did not like him a lot during those 7 games. Be honest with you,
No,
it's good to see him to come back right there. Now the last one, I think, is the last one. It's called the analytic darling tiers, where the analytic community love you as a player, but unfortunately, the your number are killer, and the coach don't put you at the give you more minutes. And the first one, and you know that we talked about this last
sure.
night. We don't see why. All the analytics prove this player score most to anybody. You know what I mean? And all the way, and that's the first one, Dennis Kuryanov from Dallas Star.
It's gross that I predicted that too. Like it's baffling to me. I don't think it's a
I'll give you a
it is
stat.
what it is.
I will
But
give you a stat right now. He is the only one with the only 20 goal scorer with an average of just 12 minutes 59 seconds.
what am I missing? Like
Well, I don't know. Like we said, you know what I mean.
if you like Alex Tuck, why wouldn't you love Dennis Gurianov? Because he's
He is
better
the
offensively and he's a similar body and speed.
overall NHL forward this year. He's the 42, rank 42 among all the forward NHL with 1.0 goal for every 60 minutes on ice on 5 versus 5.
Well, I think he's got a good future. Hopefully they don't screw that up. He's what
17.21 games, and he still play as a four line. Something we don't know yet. I don't know what
yeah,
he's.
I don't understand it. I
Um,
think he is
and he's huge. The guy is huge.
huge. he is what Val Nichushkin should have been. Like he's ahead of, Val kind of went the other way. He's kind of come back,
Yep.
but he's when you looked at Nichushkin, you were like, God, this is what he should be, and that's what I think Guriano's got a big future ahead of him.
The
He
second
might end
one
up the
we want
best
to talk
player
about.
on Dallas.
Sorry. Yep. Uh, uh, we love him.
Oh,
Honestly,
I
we
really
love this
like him.
kid.
Yeah,
We all the time, Michael. We are talk about him all the time. We said this kid should be more and more. And
there's
if I was
something we don't
manager
understand.
in NHL right now, who's looking for, hey, what do you want for Kirianov? You know what I mean? I would trade a third pick for him easily.
A third overall.
Yeah, but not overall, but a third round pick.
Oh, he's worth more than that. The guy was a top 7 pick.
Yeah, he was the first round pick.
Yeah. He
So,
was he's anyways, he took a little while. He had some injuries. I hope I like to think that what you see in him is what I see in the other Svechnikov. Because they're both like they train I don't know what he trains like, but the Svechnikov kid trains his ass off. He's very intense. He wants to win. He's physical and he's got skill. Like if you look at the package and you give the other Svechnikov an opportunity, I don't see why you don't have a 20-25 goal scorer.
and finally, the last player that all the tier we talk about, one is, like Denis Kuryanov, is Andrei Buraskowski
Oh,
with
Burakovsky had a
Colorado
great year.
Avalanche. He still have like 11 minutes per game, and he have affected 1.76 point per 60 minutes, 5 versus 5. He flourished a lot during the playoff, honestly.
Get
Um,
him out of Washington, and what happens? And you get him in a really good environment in Colorado. He
Now he
was.
gave it a bit more over 15 minutes for the during the playoff, but it's still, um, you know,
I was really hopeful, and it didn't happen. And he's a free agent, I think. I think he's RFA. When everyone was talking about trading him from Washington, I was like, send him to Edmonton because he was Connor McDavid's line mate in Erie, and they were like ridiculous. Like he was really really good, big body, high skill. I think I don't know. I think he could be a real good player for a long time for them.
so he has 27 goals, 62 points, 73 games, including 7 goals, 17 point, and 15 playoff games. So you talk about two young kids there. They should get more minutes, but again, they are part of big team, but they know where to bring. This is a really great article. I like that. You talk about players sometime. Like, might be honest with you here. What I get from the article is two players. It's a one's called Alex Dock from the Vegas Golden Knight, but the first one is Ryan O'Reilly. I'm impressed by the stat they gave to us, everything like that. We talk a lot about Patrice Bergeron, and I qualify same like Patrice
Mm,
Bergeron, Ryan O'Reilly,
for
the
sure.
details of the game we don't see, and this was the reason I love those articles. Sometimes talk about players. We just talking about he scored 24, 40 goal and everything like that, and you need those kind of players in your lineup if you want to win those Stanley
Yeah.
Cup or go all the
I,
way.
I think, I mean, I've known him a long time and I learned a lot coaching with him. Like having him on our team, I can't say I did anything for him. I learned by watching how a 15-year-old elite player who becomes an NHLer in 4 years from there, 3 years really. Um, I saw how every game he would make me take him to the rink 4 hours before a game.
Oh yeah,
Like he would call because he was living away from his normal home in Toronto, and he'd be like, "Can we go to the rink?" And I'm like, "Now it's like 5 hours." Because yeah, I'm like, "All right, whatever you want." And I did it because I'm like watching and seeing. And he'd go, "Okay, see ya." And he'd go up in the stands with his headphones, prepare for 2 hours, and then he'd do a warm up with the team for an hour. He was like sweating
no,
before anyone showed up.
he's a great hockey player. He's great.
His
Unfortunately,
preparation is like phenomenal. Like
unfortunately,
I've
we hit
never
the
learned.
hour already. I think we have to move on tonight for the pick number 11 to 15. Uh,
Okay.
Go to do that tonight. Consists of a short program, late edition tonight. So another great program. Congrats again for Tampa. Lightning organization to win their second Stanley Cup.
We
And
have a little bit of a post Stanley Cup day hangover. It
yeah,
feels like empty inside. Like,
and
what are we going to watch tomorrow? Basketball, I guess.
now we consider we have so much hockey, a lot of rumor, trade bait. We're going to talk about the 25 plus 60, for trade bait tomorrow. Already work, and then we have to go through on the organization, what their moves going to be, what they're looking for, the salary cap, their prospect player, everything like that. And then you remember the QM start in 2 days, 3 days, and
Yeah,
then we move on and then be ready
we
for
don't
a couple
even.
of news about NHL when they come back, and then to agreement between how many games, what would be the division. With I did something on the board. I will show to you next couple of days about
Cool.
the new division, both conference, everything like that, 31, and then see from there. So great show, everybody. Today again, Michael. Great to be see you again.
Here.
Tuesday, Tuesday, and we'll see you tonight for the ladies show of Country Nation Live Show. Have an amazing, great day.